My next guest has been a GP with the NHS for 25 years, working as a mentor for recently qualified doctors at a surgery in Harrow, northwest London. Dr. Wahid Shah has another less wholesome identity as leader of an Islamic Extremist group, which was recently caught on camera calling for jihad at an anti-Israel demonstration. What is the solution to liberate people in the concentration camp Palestine? What is the solution, Shader, also known as Abdul Wahid, joins me now. Welcome, T. Thank you for coming in today. You've come from your work as an NHS GP. Let me first just ask you your reaction to the clip we just played. These are members of your organization, and there are loud chants of jihad on the streets of London. Do you think that's acceptable? That demonstration was a very carefully planned demonstration where the placards, the banners, the speeches from the platform were calling for a military intervention of official armies of Muslim countries to rescue the people of Gaza, with a situation of a civilian population of 2 million who are being massacred and slaughtered anywhere else in the world. You would find it a completely straightforward thing for people calling for military intervention. They weren't chanting, "We want military intervention." They were chanting jihad. So my question for you is simply, do you support the chanting of jihad by somebody there? Unscripted, quite a few people there. Actually, no, it's about 2 people. So you would condemn that? Of course, I wouldn't condemn that. You wouldn't know, because jihad in that context is to they as they understood it, and they were chanting is for the official armies of Muslim countries to enter and intervene. We're in a situation now appears where 1% of the population of Gaza has been killed in the space of 2 months. 1% of the children of Gaza have been killed anywhere else in the world. You yourself called for military intervention in Ukraine by NATO with probably less legal and moral cause than there is in Gaza. When we stand, absolutely. Because do you think that when Vladimir Putin illegally invaded Ukraine, the moral right of Ukrainians to respond is somehow equivalent to the moral right of people in Palestine after October 7th to do the same? Is that what you're saying? I'm saying that the people of Ukraine have actually one of the most powerful armies in the region. It doesn't change the fact they were illegally invaded. Does the people of Gaza have nobody helping them? Well, they have a mass, they have a terror, they have nobody helping. Hang on. They have a terrorist organization called Hamas, have nobody helping. They got 30,000 terrorists who committed on October 7th. They have lined up against them the murderous Israeli Defense Force. They have lined up against them the United States, who this week today in the Washington Post, it was said that the white phosphorus that's being used by the IDF is supplied by them. They have lined up against them the Britain and the EU. They have lined up against them the Arab rulers in the region who carry on their trade cooperations. Listen, as I've made clear, Doctor, I think a lot of the response from Israel, particularly right now, I would deem to be testing everyone's sense of what is proportionate. Right? There's no question. I do not subscribe to the view it's genocide. That is the understatement of the cent. Possibly, but I think they have a right to defend themselves against a terror group who have gone on record in the last 2 weeks as saying they want to do what happened Uber again and again. Understand this is terrific. It's horrific. It's beyond horrific, because literally what we are watching ING on our phones, on our laptops, on our TVs is an extension of what's been happening since 194. Let me play you your reaction. All right, understand. Let me play you after October the 7th. A few days later, you took part in a talk on YouTube, and you said this brave mujah, they gave the enemy a punch on the nose. All right. And it's a very welcome punch on the nose. How can you categorize a terror attack in which 1,200 mostly innocent civilian people were brutally attacked, raped, tortured, beheaded, and murdered? How can you, a British NHS doctor or NHS doctor in Britain, how can you say that's a welcome punch on my nose? Will you let me answer fully? Yes, I will be frank. I'll be as concise as I can be. But if you give me the courtesy of letting me answer fully, okay, I will defend the right of the Palestinians to resist an occupation. When you look at that, it's not resistance, that's terrorism. When you look at what happened on the 7th of October, as if that is the day that everything started. I didn't say that you didn't say that, but when people look at that, do you think what happened that day was a terrorist attack? When people look, did you know that the word terrorism has become so, politicized? Actually, not really the word turned deeply sympathetic to Palestinian civilian, which I am, by the way, and I've expressed many times. What you can't do is be Weasley Mao about what happened on October the 7th. That was Gress, you're equivocating about it being a terror. I'm not equivocating, and I will explain why. Okay, to the word terrorism, by the way, in India last month, we don't talk about. India talk about the word terrorism in India, people who supported the Australian Cricket team have been arrested under terrorist offenses, and the West Bank people who are our ring have been told, if you reveal what happened in the prisons, you'll be arrested on terrorist. Do you think what happened October the 7th was a terror attack? It's a resistance, not a terror attack, appears if. And it's your NHS GP if I'm asking you to let me finish, if right our Islamic standard in conflict in. Warfare, our prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said. You can't kill children, you can't kill women, you can't kill the elderly, you can't mutilate. That if anybody did that, what do you mean if I say because they literally broadcast on their own streaming platforms? And well, I'll tell you, a lot of us saw broadcast it merrily to the world. Here's us doing these terrible things. What you mean if what many of us saw on that day were videos coming out showing people saying we will not harm women, we will not harm children. Do me a favor, no, that's. What doctor I'm saying that resistance is a right in Islam, it's a right in international law. It's even a right that Churchill said in his history of the English speaking peoples, that is, he actually wrote in that book, it is a primary right of men to kill and die for the land they live in. You literally just read me a description of what people who follow Islam are not supposed to do, and Hamas did all those things. But your response is to say, well, hang on, I've seen videos of them saying, we don't want to do that stuff. No, I find that pretty offensive, doctor. I find we all know they did it because they boasted to the world with their own videos what they were doing. I find amazing that respected journalists like yourself seemed to have suspended their critical FA. I'm believing what Hamas wanted me to see. Well, you're believing what you saw, what Hamas themselves broadcast to the world because they wanted to take great glee in what they've done. There's no ambiguity about it. I asked you to let me finish, and you got to answer questions. I will answer the question, let's agree on a principle. If atrocities were committed, right, I will never condone them, right? I will say that. So, do you condemn what happened on October the 7th? If atrocities are committed, you know who's RSP, no. Who's responsible for it. Then also, you don't condemn it, okay? Who is responsible? The Jews bought on themselves. Actually, I would say more than that. I would say the powers that believe that Israel should be a colony for themselves in the Middle East, they're the ones responsible. You know what I'm really struggling? I got to be honest with you. I'm really struggling. But a British National Health Service doctor of 25 years, a man who's supposed to be seeing patients all day, every day, and putting them right is incapable of saying what happened when it was literally broadcast to the world by a terror group, nor do you think they're terrorists? You think it's resistance? You seem to want to go any to justify you don't even believe what they showed us with their own technology. And I'm just curious, do you think any of this is compatible with you being a doctor in the National Health Service? You don't have to be a doctor to your patients. No, that you believe you don't have to be a doctor to care for the lives of 2 million people in Gaza. You don't have to be a doctor talk about whether your patients here in this country where Hamas are prescribed a terrorist organization. Were they listening to this interview? Do these patients know I have said to you, do they know your views? I don't talk to my patients about my view in a 10-minute confrontation. Do I? Nobody does that. It's just a foolish question. Isn't it that a foolish question? Yet nobody talks to use a different name for I use my name. Well, you don't. You have two names, one the leader of the group. Abdul Wahid is a name that family, friends, and other people call me. Actually, even some people, that's not the name you use at work. Even some people at work, and ABD and Shah is my legal name, which people use in other forums. That's not a very unusual thing. In May 2023, I'm going to ask you another question. You did not give me the courtesy. You know why? Because your answers were so outrageous, you censor that your answer. No. I don't censor the person doing the censoring. Is you are. Who wants me to try and understand and believe that what Hamas sodas boasted about with their own technology broadcasting into the world was not what we saw you that's called censorship? Well, that is actually the purest personification of censoring the truth I've ever encountered when you bring Mark Reg onto and you question him, lightweight questioning. I'll be lightweight questioning about the atrocities that happen. You think I give I actually ask difficult question. Actually, you don't. You don't ask difficult questions, yeah. You completely accept you listen, sit there and listen to the most ridiculous explanations, unlike you. And your answers, you mean, well, you didn't give me the chance to say that, no, I've heard your answers, no, you didn't know, have I have you, didn't you don't, well, let's do a little quick telling the answer. Let's do a little quick far recap. Do you think Hamas terror group, I believe it's a resistance organization, do you think what they did in October the 7th was a terror attack? I believe that if civilians got killed on that day, it is aing you're a doctor, man. Is apping you're a doctor, and then also believe 1,200 people got mass. and 1% of the population. I can share your concerns about what's happened. You know, you don't know. I do know. I do 16 years, 16. Can believe a doctor is saying the word if people got victims of atrocity, if October the 7th. How can you say that? So what you tell me this, what is a proportionate response to 16 years living in a cage? What is a proportion? Not a terror attack. What is not a terror attack? If they just attacked IDF, I've asked many times what is proportion, except that. So you're saying just to attack the IDF would have been acceptable? I personally do not. I'm answering. Let me answer your question. I'm going to say this. We might be able to agree. I think the strategy at the moment, let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. If they had military targets, my view of what they're doing is I don't think it's going to work. I don't think the IDF is going to eradicate Hamas. And if that is the mission statement, and in the process they kill tens of thousands of innocent men, women, and children, if they do that, I think they will radicalize an entire new generation and make it worse. That's my honest view of what I'm. But let me come back. That's why when we talk about military intervention, actually what we want, Doctor, what happened October 7th wasn't a military intervention, a terror attack. What we want is a military. You don't even think it happened. Do you? What we want is a military intervention from Muslim armies to re-rescue beleaguered people and replace, and people have to be given the same human rights. Do me respect. They have to be given. No, I will interrupt you. It's not your show. You don't just talk forever, right? What's the point of asking? I'm going to tell you what I think about the Palestinian plight, which I've talked about many times. You've obviously missed it. I think they should be given the same human rights as everybody else, and particularly the same rights of Israelis. I think it's been a 75-year conflict with conflict to conflict where people have been driven out of their homes. 750,000 people in the wrong that was wrong, encroaching on the West Bank more and more that was wrong. So have been all the wars launched against Israel been wrong. All of it is wrong, right? The history shows this is a conflict riddled with wrongs on both sides. Oh, or no, it didn't. I never said it did. Well, you don't even think it happened. Whole framing of your debate here, you don't even think it happened. I do think it happened. Oh, you did it. Didn't happen. 1,200 people were massacred. Were they? I think 1,200 people were killed. Were they massacred? Yeah, they were killed right by terrorists. They were killed by people who were resisting an occupation and their terror. Yeah, well, that's your view. It is my view, by the way, the view of any person who is not Israeli or Palestinian. Right? Anyone I disagree with that. I disagree with that. One man. Have you not heard the one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter? Have you never heard that? Have you never heard that? Let me just play. I want to just read you this in May 2023. Looker MIM, who's a prominent member of your organization, called for an end to the secular order. So that quotes the UK will no longer be able to pump its liberal filth, its LGBT filth, its feminist filth in the heart of the Muslim world. Do you agree with him? I agree that the West is pumping secular democracy into the Muslim world, and I agree that actually what we want to see in the Muslim world is a system with an accountable government, right, and elected leader upholding family values, right? We want to see an economic system where wealth is circulated. Do you believe in equal rights for gaping people? I believe that actually the Islamic standard of law should be the standard of law in the country. And obviously, that's the standard I believe in. And I believe, just to clarify, what is your view of homosexuality? I believe homosexuality is a sin. Don't sin wrong. So when gay people come to your practice, do you treat them? Oh, of course. Why? Because I treat all my patients with kindness. And without you telling you think what they do is a sin, what an absurd thing to say. Why wouldn't you be wise? Say that. Why would I say that? Because why don't you try going back to your surgery tomorrow? Why don't you go to your surgery tomorrow and say, before we go any further to your patients, I want you to know what I think. I think that I agree with a guy who said that this country is full of LGBT filth feminists. Phil, I don't think Hamas are a terror group. I don't think what they did on October the 7th was a terror attack. And by the way, do you want me now to treat you? Do you understand what I don't understand? Any of that professional integrity is you understand. You think that's professional integrity? No, I think professional integrity is treating the people I treat with respect and with kind fair. Well, they know I do. Do they? Oh, yeah. Do they? Yeah. Do they know you think they're filth? I didn't say that. They're Phil. You agreed with what he said. I didn't agree with what he said. You said, I agree. No, I agree. I pay the tea back in your I agree with the fact that the Muslim world should have an Islamic system. Yeah, I didn't say I agree with. I don't use words. You want full Sharia law for this country. I'm working for our group works for Islam, the restoration of Islam. In the Muslim world, about here we work to uphold Islam values in our personal life and in the Muslim community do. You want law here or no? I would love, what you'd love it. No, I tell you what, that in this last 2 months, one of the strangest things has been where people here have been looking at the people in Gaza, and they've been going and looking and reading the Quran, and they've been looking at it. And I'd invite you and your audience to do that. And you like law here, and they are not convinced by these any neocon, and caricatures of Islam. Are they actually? I don't think. People, all I've done is ask you straightforward question. You revealed your beliefs in the answers. Yeah, you have you may not even realize what you've done, but you have I believe in Islamic law, and I don't believe in the caricature that you try in present of Islamic law. Would you like Sharia law in this country? I would love to see you want Sharia law in this country. I don't want Sharia law in this country. Well, that's your wish, but you would, yeah. But I know, I believe it's the best system, but I'm not working. Would you like it in this country? I'm not working. I believe in Islamic, the Islamic civilization was the only civilization quick to answer everything else yes or no. The Islamic civilization was the only civilization that brought peace to the Middle East for Muslims, Jews, and Christians. I would love to see that system. Wouldn't you like to see a system who pays your salary? Wouldn't you like to see a system where Muslims, Jews, and Christians would live under Shah law? I'm just not talking about this. I'm talking about Middle East, no. But you suggested you wanted it to be under Shah law. Here you suist, do you? Or not you do you? Or not? What's funny? What's funny is your approach a question. Why just answer question? Because you know why it's funny, yes or no, you to do, or you don't, right? I ask a question, the answer is yes or no. Why can't you say yes or no? I believe in the Islamic system. Would you like Sharia law in this country? I would love yes or no. I would love to see you. Want no, answer the question. Never mind what I want. What do you want? I want to see is the Islamic system. Really, would you like Sharia law in this country? Last time, I'm going to ask if Sharia law means upholding family values, means looking after the poor, means no gays, no feminists, are women who get above themselves. That's your caricature. No, I know what Shia law wants. Why do so many women become Muslim these days? Why want bead? Is that what you're going to tell me? No. Why do so many they want to be oppressed women in the world become Muslim? These days, you tell me, well, you better ask, why don't you tell me what you think that they seem to find something that attracts them Islam? Really, many women in the West become Muslim. And for some reason, they seem like the fact that it's you work with women doctors. Yes, I do. How do they feel about your views on this? I keep a very strict professional line between they know where your views are when they watch this, so they're going to be surprised. Some of them will know, some of them will not know, some of them will know, some of them will not know. Okay, doctor, thank you for coming, and I appreciate you've been enlightening with your responses. You may not realize quite how enlightening, but you might find out when you see the reaction. But I appreciate you coming, and thank you. You're welcome.